In metaphysics, a relation is fundamentally a way in which two or more entities are connected or stand in a certain correspondence to each other. Philosophically, relations are often seen as the fundamental glue that explains how distinct entities can interact or be understood in relation to one another. The metaphysics of relation, classical, analytic, processual, phenomenological, and Trinitarian perspectives. Introduction. The concept of relation has occupied a pivotal place in metaphysics from antiquity to the present. Philosophers have long debated whether relations are fundamentally real or merely logical constructs, whether they depend on the intrinsic natures of things or add something new to reality, and whether relation might be identified with being itself. This essay explores the category of relation across Aristotelian and Thomistic thought, contemporary analytic metaphysics, process relational philosophy, and phenomenology. It also treats the Christian doctrine of the Trinity as a case study, since the Father, Son, and Spirit are said to be distinguished only by relations within the single divine being. The analysis highlights Aquinas on real and logical relations, internal and external relations in analytic metaphysics, the ontological priority of structure, participatory being, relational substance, processual existence, and insights from Aristotle, Aquinas, Whitehead, Heidegger, Marian, Benowski, and the patristic and scholastic tradition. Aristotelian foundations, relation as an accidental category. Aristotle lists relation, pros ti or toward something, among the 10 categories of being. Substances exist in themselves, while accidents, such as qualities and relations, exist only in substances. A relational accident, for example larger than or father of, both inheres in a subject and points beyond it to another, making relation distinct among accidents. A substance can be without a given relation, but a relation cannot exist without its substances. Hence, existence is primarily identified with substance, and relation is an accidental feature that follows upon the act of being. Later commentators largely retain this view. Relation does not add new being over and above the beings related, though it is real, not merely a projection of language. Thomistic perspectives, real and logical relations, and participation in being. Thomas Aquinas refines Aristotelian teaching. A real relation has a foundation in extramental reality, such as paternity grounded in generation, while a logical relation exists only in the mind, for example, the relation of being known. In creatures, a relation is an accident distinct from the act of existence, S.A., and is ontologically posterior. Aquinas affirms some relations as irreducible and real, while conceding that many are purely conceptual. Aquinas ties relation to his doctrine of participation. Every creature stands in a real relation of dependence upon God as first cause. Creation is the establishment of this dependence. The creature's relation to God is real, whereas God's relation to the creature is only logical, preserving divine immutability. Crucially, anything accidental in creatures is identical with the divine essence when said of God. Thus, the relations of paternity, filiation, and spiration in God are identical with the one divine being. In God, relation and essence coincide, while in creatures, they remain distinct. Medieval thinkers such as Duns Scotus introduced further nuances, but the central scholastic legacy remains. In the created order, relation is secondary to substance, yet in God relation subsists as the divine reality itself. Contemporary analytic metaphysics, internal and external relations, and the priority of structure. Analytic philosophers distinguish internal relations, determined by the intrinsic natures of the relata, from external relations, which introduce facts not fixed by those natures. Early analytics such as Russell defended external relations against monistic idealism. Nominalists tried to reduce relations to monadic properties, while realists argued that some relations, especially causal or spatial, are irreducible. Many analytic thinkers hold that internal relations add nothing to being, whereas external relations may add ontological commitments. Ontic structural realists such as Ladyman and Ross contend that relational structure is fundamental and that objects are nodes in networks defined by those structures. Juri Benowski explores models where objects are bundles of relations and substance and relation are alternative descriptions of the same reality. The analytic landscape thus shows a growing openness to relations as ontologically basic, even prior to relata. Process-relational metaphysics, the primacy of process and relation. Alfred North Whitehead's process philosophy replaces static substances with dynamic events called actual occasions. Each occasion is constituted by prehending other occasions. Existence is transactional. Relations are not accidents, but the very essence of being. Substance becomes an abstraction. Relational process is concrete. An electron, for instance, is a pattern of relational events, not an unchanging unit. Process thought parallels holistic tendencies in physics and ecology and inspires process theology, which views God as chief relational process. In this metaphysics, relation is fully convertible with existence because entities are nothing but the weave of relations that constitute them. Phenomenological perspectives, being in relation, and interpersonal communion. Phenomenology shifts attention to lived experience. Martin Heidegger argues that Dasein is being in the world and being with others. Relationality is a primordial existential condition, not an added feature. Knowing and loving are modes of being towards something or someone. Jean-Luc Marion moves from ontology to agape, proposing God as love, a self-donating relation. In Givenness and Revelation, he describes the Trinity as love put into operation in itself, a unity of communion beyond mere numerical oneness. Relation, specifically loving relation, is at least as primordial as being and may surpass the concept of being. The phenomenological stance views relation as constitutive of subjectivity and meaning. It prepares for the theological claim that absolute being is absolute relation. The Trinity as case study, relational distinction within divine simplicity. Christian doctrine holds that God is one essence in three persons distinguished solely by relations of origin. The Father is unbegotten source, the Son begotten, the Spirit proceeding. Everything in God is one except the relational oppositions. Aquinas calls the divine persons subsisting relations. These relations are identical with the divine essence, yet really distinct as relations, avoiding both tritheism and modalism. In God, person is a relational concept. The relations entail one another and are eternal. They do not divide substance but constitute interpersonal communion. Boethius summarized, substance contains unity, relation multiplies Trinity. Concepts such as relative identity and perichoresis express how relations can distinguish without separating. The Trinity suggests that the highest form of being is unity in relational plurality. It encourages rethinking classical categories of one and many, substance and relation, identity and difference. It also implies that created persons, made in the image of a relational God, find their fulfillment in communion. Conclusion. Across traditions, the concept of relation undergoes profound reevaluation. Aristotle treats relation as an accident, secondary to substance. Aquinas refines this. In creatures, relation is accidental, but in God, relation and essence coincide. Analytic metaphysics distinguishes internal from external relations and increasingly grants relations ontological priority, as seen in structural realism. Process philosophy asserts that to be is to relate, replacing substance with relational process. Phenomenology locates relation at the heart of meaning and identity, and Marion presents God as love, the supreme relation. The Trinity crowns the discussion by revealing relation as hypostatic reality, identical with being at the ultimate level. A constant question has been whether relation is distinct from or convertible with existence. In ordinary finite being, relation appears secondary, yet at deeper levels relation and being converge. The Aristotelian toward another comes to reflect a reality in which communion and relationality constitute the fullness of being. Tracing the line from Aristotle and Aquinas through modern analysts, process thinkers, Heidegger and Marion, and culminating in Trinitarian doctrine, we arrive at a view of relation as perhaps the very heart of reality. This view carries philosophical and theological significance by showing that nothing truly is in isolation, and that understanding anything means understanding the relations that constitute it.